A lot of states seemed like they were out of reach, even in 2020, and they're suddenly not so unattainable. So midterms are coming up. We said off the top that we were going to give you some information that you needed. Obviously, a lot of people are talking about it. It's in the news right now. We had Ron DeSantis debating last night. I think we have Dr. Oz debating tonight. Herschel Walker debates every single night, but normally with himself. It's very unfortunate. I like the guy. I want him to win because he's a Republican, but he's got some problems. And we're going to talk about some of these candidates aren't necessarily the strongest people that we would say we would want to have. But when it comes down to choosing between a Republican, even though a flawed candidate, and a Democrat who is going to push policies that the left loves, like abortion up to and including birth, sometimes you got to hold your nose and pull the lever for the Republican because at least they believe in your right to freedom. Okay. So they're right around the corner, and the Democrats are, I think, because every single show is talking about this and everyone is panicking, I think they're getting a little nervous.
How about this? This is a New York Times poll, brand new here, asking voters what's the top issue on your mind this election. I haven't seen it this dramatic in a poll. Add the economy and inflation together. That is 44%. We're getting close to half of all respondents in this poll saying that's their top issue. Nothing else even cracks 10% right now. And we've talked about the Republicans when it comes to the economy and inflation having a pretty clear advantage in the polls. And typically this has been a pretty good indicator of where things end up in midterm elections. So this is the average of the generic ballot right now. And you can see the Republicans with a lead here. That is a 2.2 point lead for Republicans. Now, it's close, generally speaking, but we were here a week ago taking you through the generic ballot. And a week ago, this number was inside of 1 point. You had that inflation news over the last week, certainly didn't help the Democrats. And it does seem that as the economy moves to center stage, Republicans are improving their chances here.
So one thing that I'm very happy about is that the Democrats have failed to make abortion the top priority, like we saw. So one of our concerns, we wanted Roe v. Wade to be overturned. We thought it should go back to the states, and we thought more reasonable rules and regulations for abortion, pretty much getting rid of it in most cases, was what was necessary, but we also knew that we may take a hit in the elections because of it. So I'm glad to see that. I'm also terrified to see that 8%. So if democracy really is a problem,
the state of democracy.
Well, the state of democracy. I want more than 8% of people caring about it. They're like, well, heck, as long as I can go buy stuff cheap and I have a good job, I really don't care where I live.
Yeah, if the state of the republic was actually like its demise was imminent, I would hope it's more than 8%.
8% of you guys care about this?
I just don't understand why we just watch some nerdy guy make Madden circles about abortion.
He's like, as the economy comes back to the forefront, when did it go away? You tried to make it go away.
Always the economy, stupid.
Look what we got here. I rolled up my sleeves. 2.2%. That's the difference there. It's like, what are you down?
I'm a working man, just like one of you guys.
Look, I wear Vans with khakis. It's like, those are Payless Airwalks.
But not the same.
But when they went out of business, I stole 200 pairs.
Well, look, inflation is really bad. They're like, well, the inflation news. I'm like, it wasn't the inflation news last week, you moron. It's been the inflation news for the last several months, okay? And Nancy Pelosi thinks that inflation really isn't a problem and that all we need to do is change the subject.
And the fact is that when I hear people talk about inflation, as I heard him there, we have to change that subject. Inflation is a global phenomenon.
It's what?
The EU, the European Union, the UK, the British have higher inflation rate than we do here. It's not, the fight is not about inflation. It's about the cost of living.
Is that not inflation?
Phenomena. Bitch.
You know, I'm not a math Asian, but I thought that inflation could impact the cost of living. Is that no longer true?
Well, correlation doesn't equal causation, but in this case, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Okay.
I feel like she put her dentures in her highball.
So she's just sitting there saying, I taste gimlet.
Yeah.
Fix a dent and forget. The UK. She started to say words that didn't require her mouth to separate too much at that point. She was like, the UK, I'm British.
She's running low on blood of the innocent. But it's a really lazy argument. We're talking about this in run-through. Europe always has higher inflation rates than the U.S. So you can compare it now, but that ignores that they always do. I was raised in Quebec, where gas was often it's more similar to Europe in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
If we were buying electronics, I remember as a kid, an N64 game would be $69.99. That's
much more expensive.
Yeah, gas would be 2 times the price. I mean, food was way more expensive. Sales tax was 14%. It was actually 15%, sorry, when I was being raised. So it really is a weak argument, but I have heard from a lot of people saying, well, how do we debunk this? It's always higher in Europe, and they've both gone up.
Yeah, those are the easy things to debunk, and you can say right now, too, well, it's interesting that you chose chose to go with the European Union, and you chose Britain, and you chose the UK. Japan right now, so if we focus on kind of these East Asian democracies, Japan has 3%. Taiwan, 2.75, South Korea, 5.6. So it's not the entire world, Nancy and Joe and Kamala, that's having a problem with this. And by the way, this isn't the easiest argument to make to win this argument. It's lazy in that it's saying, well, it's bad everywhere. Right. It's not our fault. No, your policies are contributing to this. Maybe inflation would be a little bit higher right now, right? Maybe supply chain things. Maybe that is possible. I'll grant you that for the sake of argument. I'm not agreeing. I'm not saying it is. But just for the sake of argument, you're telling me that your energy policies have helped curb inflation by making gas prices higher, by making oil go up in price, by not tapping into natural resources that we currently have here. You're telling me right now that it's okay to just throw more money on the fire to solve inflation? Isn't that typically what leads to more inflation? Is government spending?
Well, you're forgetting something else.
What's that?
Printing more money.
Well, we can just keep printing more and that won't lead to inflation?
No, because you'll have more of it.
Exactly.
You just keep doing that?
Yes.
Yes.
Why tax any?
What are we even doing here?
Just make it.
Can we get this printer ourselves?
You make more money, then you take it all back.
Yes. I believe
this is brilliant. I think we've done our jobs here. You know what? We're just going to end the show right now. I'm kidding. We're not.
Solve the crisis. Just make more money.
All right, have we thoroughly taken care of that for you? If anybody says inflation is high everywhere, you understand that in Europe it is almost always, if not always, higher. In the Canada. In the Canada. Did I just do that?
It's fine.
In the Canadian areas that are north of here that for some reason we don't own, they always have higher prices as well. And currently in other places and democracies around the world, they don't suck.
And they're facing war.
6.
What was that? What? And they're facing wars, by the way. Japan right now, I don't know if you've seen, I'm sure Ginger Snap knows this. It's the biggest building up of an arsenal really since World War II.
Well, North Korea is flexing their muscle right now. China's flexing their muscle with Taiwan. And Japan is basically like, okay, we hope everybody comes to our aid, because if this happens, especially on both fronts, this is going to be a major problem.
If we keep shooting nukes into the water, though, we're going to make some monsters.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to.
I think that's what we do to get rid of them.
No.
Haven't you seen Project Monarch?
I know, but that's just nonsense. That's Hollywood stuff.
Yeah, but I think it's real.
It's the nukes that are going to make them.
I like it.
Well, Japan needs some help, so we should send them public school teachers.
Godzilla. We'll send you Godzilla.
Send them the truth.
Yeah.
You
all right,
tell me that when a killer whale's living in your house.
Arguing over the clicker.
I like killer whales. They're pretty fun.
Yeah, they are.
All right.
Yeah, not when they got hands.
I'm not. Well, of course, Dave, not if they have hands. Fine. I'll never get the remote back. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Speaking of taking stuff back, a lot of states seemed like they were out of reach, even in 2020, and they're suddenly not so unattainable. And there's a bunch of states that were doing very well. And obviously, Florida is typically a Republican state, which is fantastic for us. It's usually a pretty good stronghold. The home of current Governor Ron DeSantis, crushing his opponent, by the way, Charlie Crist, by double digits.
Also, the number of registered Republicans as a percentage of voters, it's up several 100,000 people.
In Florida?
Florida, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a very stark trend. Absolutely. He's handled the school stuff well. He's handled COVID very well. He probably even more than Texas had policies that benefited local business, kept everybody safe, schools. Mm-hmm. By the way, he had some information on schools. I think it's in the clip that we're going to play here. He also disciplined Chris' dog in front of him.
He did. Well, he was a bad boy, and he put his nose in it and used a newspaper. It was necessary. After the debate, though, on Monday night last night, it's pretty easy to see why he's winning.
Yeah.
You're the only governor in the history of Florida that's ever shut down our schools. You're the only governor in the history of Florida that shut down our businesses.
Lay up.
I never did that as governor.
Did you have a global pandemic that you were dealing with, Charlie?
We need to have somebody who is at the helm that understands it's important to listen to science, to do what's right, to utilize common sense. You don't just shut down at the outset, and then when it's politically convenient for you, you want to open back up to store political points.
Somebody pack the audience. Jeez.
The president. That's not right. It's not what the people deserve.
I think they're cheering for DeSantis.
Well, so he opposed having kids in school. His supporters sued me to keep the kids out of school in 2020. And how critical was that decision? We just got the nation's report card, the results from all 50 states.
This is
Florida,
big.
number 3 in 4th grade reading and number 4 in the country in 4th grade math. And if you adjust that for demographics, we are number 1 in the country in both. That would not have happened if we let Charlie Crist and his friends lock our kids out of school like they did in California and like they did in New York.
Boom. That's how you do it right there. You go straight to the numbers and say our policies resulted in better outcomes for who? your children.
I would have added one thing. I would have, when he started, just say, is anybody buying this? Is anybody buying that the Democrat wanted more freedom?
That's a little bit more of Donald Trump in it.
But you should just say that. Lead it with, is anyone actually buying this? Like, that's what they try. Is anyone actually sitting there
like, see what this guy said?
Yeah, he was the shutdown guy, was DeSantis. No, you were criticizing him when you were gearing up for your run to say he didn't shut down enough.
Yeah.
It's really a lazy argument for them to say, well, I wasn't in power, and he shut them down. And by the way, a lot of people shut down for 2 weeks. We didn't. We did the Mug Club quarantine month.
Yeah, I remember that.
But we understood. We said, I understand why some businesses, because we didn't know. After about 2 weeks, it was clear.
It was very clear after just a few weeks. And so that's what he said. You closed down at the outset. He goes, you should have trusted the science. You mean when he had doctors from some of the most well-respected institutions in the world and he was kicked off of YouTube when he was talking to them and letting his constituents hear the conversation? You mean that kind of trust the science? I don't really buy your argument. Chris is basically throwing haymakers at this point, trying to see if he can get something going. But he also he wrecked him on just about every single point, and you will see some other clips that the media is trying to portray as DeSantis getting owned by Chris. It's a very, very big stretch, but he kicked his butt on the issue of transitioning kids.
You're a 15-year-old. You can't go get a tattoo in the state of Florida, yet we're saying you could get a double mastectomy? Of course not. It is inappropriate to do this for minors, and in Florida, we are not going to allow that to happen.
Boom. Easy enough. You can't go at 15. He chose 15. I would have gone 12.
Yes.
12 and 10, 11, that sounds a little bit worse, but it's actually what's happening, and it's a middle point. They want 5-year-olds to be able to have some of these things start to take place, changing your pronouns, which we just heard from the NIH is a really bad thing to do, right?
Well, a 5-year-old getting a mistake.
I think it was the NHS.
Sorry, yeah. I get the letters.
All the acronyms,
Numbers, I'm fine with letters.
It's just silly.
Bad with letters.
I'm kind of retarded.
That's fair. One thing that I did see, though, that I wanted our researchers to pull, and they did, was this clip has been going around, mostly from NBC News, because Chris was asking DeSantis if he was going to stick around for all 4 years. And I just want to say something at the outset of this. That is one of the most insane questions that I've ever heard. Because, Chris, I guarantee you right now, if somebody came to you and said, hey, Joe Biden's not going to run, would you like to be the Democratic nominee for president of the United States, and you were still in this race, you'd be like, heck yeah, baby.
There would just
sign me up.
There'd be a Christ-shaped hole in the wall.
Of course. More power and something that I can't possibly do a good job with. I'm your man, right? So here's the NBC News clip and how they're portraying Ron DeSantis' answer.
And let me remind the viewers, he wouldn't even answer you if he would stay 4 years if you reelect him as your governor. You're running for governor. You're asking them to vote for you for governor. At a minimum, you ought to be able to tell them if you get reelected, you'll serve as governor. Ron?
Governor?
So we had the border that was in much better shape in January of 2021.
He pivots, right? And so they're like, oh, see, he won't even answer the question if he's going to stay and run. It doesn't matter. But here's the full context of the answer he gave earlier in the debate.
And I have a question for you. You're running for governor. Why don't you look in the eyes of the people of the state of Florida and say to them, if you're reelected, you will serve a full 4-year term as governor? Yes or no? Yes or no, Ron? Will you serve a full 4-year term if you're reelected governor of Florida? It's not a tough question. It's a fair question. He won't tell you.
We did not agree on the candidates asking each other questions.
Time?
Governor, it's your turn.
Well, listen, I know that Charlie's interested in talking about 2024 and Joe Biden, but I just want to make things very, very clear. The only worn-out old donkey I'm looking to put out to pasture is Charlie Crist.
In political terms, them's fighting words. Yeah. Listen, he was just being polite. He was saying, is it my time? He waited for that, but every single clip that you saw in the media cut when he was standing there and not answering in an awkward silence kind of moment. And by the way, just in case you thought Charlie Crist was actually serious and genuine in saying that you should stay for the full term of governor when you're elected, he ran for the Senate while he was governor in 2009. So that would have been a very helpful piece of information.
And that's because he believed he was going to lose, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I need to find my next gig so that I don't get out of government work.
It's like being down on a scorecard, so you foul your opponents. You're like, I would have won if not for this damn ref.
Man, that's true. Yeah. That's what I do at the very beginning. I kick him in the nuts and get disqualified so I don't get punched in the face.
It's a sound strategy.
He's the Beto O'Rourke of
He
Florida.
is.
Yeah.
He is.
I need another race to lose. Yes. Where can I go next?
I hope I lose it. I hope I lose it.
I think it's good that he didn't answer his question.
No, I think it was too. He pivoted to issues that people care about. He didn't need to jump down there with him because, of course, that was just going to be distraction from what he really wanted to talk about.
And this is something
the moderator pointed it out.
Yes. And this is something, too, that I think a lot of people, they go, two-party system, and you really are. You do have to understand that, especially in a place like Florida, you are voting the platform. It does matter. Now, neither platform is perfect, but you don't want a parliamentary system, for example, like in Canada, where you can win the Prime Minister's office with only 30-something% of the vote. And the platform right now is Crist versus Ron DeSantis, the platform of abortion up until and including birth period, the platform of locking everything down, the platform of increased taxes, right? The platform of civil unrest versus DeSantis. And people, if they're electing him, look, if he is called up to run for president, people are electing his judgment, and he will decide who will be filling in his spot.
No, I think it's a good point. I don't know how it works in Florida if the lieutenant governor becomes governor, if they have a special election or anything. I have no idea. Florida, I'm sorry, I don't know your ways. But it's important to understand that Ron DeSantis is a presidential candidate, obviously. He's one of the front runners to be able to take that position if he chooses to. He hasn't declared for that yet, so it's irrelevant. Right now, he's running for governor, and he's doing a damn good job, and he's kicking your butt, Charlie. So maybe focus on your own election and worry about where he's going to go next. You, sir, are going to one of the many, many retirement homes that your state houses.
That's correct.
Hit the like button if that's what you would like to see for Charlie Crist, and make sure it's... We need like a more man. I'd like it, but it needs to be like
more manly,
a little bit more of a smash.
Yeah, I think you're
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
That's okay.
Let's go to one of the other races that we are excited about in Arizona with our very own Kari Lake.
Swing.
There's a good reason, Stephen. Make sure you keep your legs crossed.
Yes.
Kari Lake, actually,
put that trapper keeper on there and push down.
That's right, buddy. You know the game. Would you like some duct tape?
Does someone have a binder?
Hit it with a ruler.
That only makes it worse.
That helps.
It gets angry. 538 now gives Kari Lake a 58% chance to win against her Democratic opponent, Katie Hobbs. That's up from 38% just a month ago. She's actually inside the margin now. Takes I think it's like a 1.8% lead, or 1.8 point lead, I should say, not percent.
Remember the bumper stickers in 2016? Trust Nate Silver, 538. Now they don't like him anymore. The left, they're like, oh, he's too moderate. He's just a shill. It's like, you guys had so many the bumper sticker, Trust Nate Silver. I remember it everywhere.
Yeah. Well, her, it's not just that. It's just when it's convenient.
Right.
It's not Trust Nate Silver because Nate Silver is trustworthy. It's Trust Nate Silver because right now he's saying what we like. Right. And the mainstream media normally carries the water for people, but not right now. Kari Lake's opponent, Hobbs, has even faced criticism from them.
They're not going to look at their ballot and say,
she just came and sat down.
Hobbs didn't debate her opponent.
She just came and sat down with me and answered my questions for a lot of minutes.
A lot of minutes.
Yeah.
A lot of
More
Democrats are questioning
counting
your
on her
decision.
hands.
And they're saying, it's
open-toed
the wrong
shoes.
decision. President Biden's former 2020 co-chair said, I would debate and I would want the people of Arizona to know what my platform is. If you think she's as dangerous as you're saying to democracy, is it your responsibility as a candidate who wants to run Arizona to show and explain who their alternative is?
That is exactly what I'm doing right now. And there is a lot more ability to have a conversation with you without her interruptions and shouting to do that.
I thought that when I came on this network that you were going to support me and say that everything that I did was fantastic, but you're asking me tough questions, and I don't think I can handle that.
No.
Also, I think being meek is the best way to run a campaign.
Yes, especially when combined with my abnormally small mouth.
Raving psycho.
And look, I don't know a whole lot about her other than she's a Democrat, which is basically all that I need to know about her when she's running for governor in Arizona. But I like Kari Lake. I like what I've seen from Kari Lake, but I specifically love this from Kari Lake because she's pointing out the media's hypocrisy about the election.
I thought you were going to say figure.
Here's 150 examples of Democrats denying election results. Oh, wow, look at this. This is from...
she's surprised.
Joe Biden's press secretary. Reminder, Brian Kemp stole the gubernatorial election from Georgians and Stacey Abrams. Democrats saying that. Is that an election denier? Oh, look at this. Just heard Republican Ryan Costello said it would be difficult for Stacey Abrams to win because she lost her state bid, but yet she's still claiming she never lost.
To this
This
day.
is outrageous. Hillary
She lost her
Clinton.
state
Trump
bib.
is an illegitimate president. Is she an election denier?
If she were a president, she'd be Abraham Lincoln.
That's fair.
And just to be fair, like her husband, we met,
Nice.
lovely, great.
Yes,
We're just joking, but she is a very fetching candidate, and
We respectfully think she's attractive.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And she's also doing a fantastic job. I will say this, Carrie. I know your kids, her kids watch, I think, right?
I believe so.
Okay. So your kids are watching right now. I know that you were already planning to do that. But when I told you in the interview, make sure you point out that I'm just going to take like 0.0001% credit for that, because that is what I've been waiting for. Somebody to just come out and be like, oh, election deniers. We talked about, what is it? Kill Chain was the movie on documentary on HBO in 2018, I believe, with all of the Democratic people saying that, with Hillary Clinton denying the election that Ted Cruz pointed out earlier.
They specifically said that Dominion voting machines are easily hackable.
And showed it live.
Yes, and showed
like,
it live.
Here's how
and
I
said
did it.
Kemp didn't win the election because Dominion voting machines could have been hacked. That was their argument.
And right now, and we may actually have it down here, so I don't want to hit it, but they're doing it again. Democrats are actually kind of seeding the ground a little bit, telling you that this is going to be a problem. But look, it's not just that Carrie Lake is doing well in the polls. It's not just that she is doing a fantastic job destroying the lies of the left. The enthusiasm gap right now is something that is massive, right? And so just take a look. When you guys were introduced at the show, for Stephen and Dave, when you guys were in, what was it, Phoenix, Arizona?
Yeah, it was like 5,000 on the people.
Just look at the audience reaction to them.
We have Carrie Lake, I think, here, future governor of Arizona.
That's your reaction to Carrie.
Yeah. I could have just gone home.
It's done.
It seems they liked her.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a sustained applause. Yeah. And Carrie Lake had the balls to come out to a comedy show.
Yeah, I know.
Knowing that was probably going to be used agast her. Oh, sorry, Stephen.
We went to Phoenix. I don't know if Dave saw this. I was in the hotel room watching Casino for like the 15th time because it was an AMC, and I saw attack ads against Carrie Lake, and I was in them.
Yeah, he was in them.
Are you serious?
It was
I said like something about the FBI, like defunding the FBI. She said, "Well, yeah, I do think we have a problem with our intelligence communities." And the attack ad said, "Carrie Lake, serious or seriously dangerous?" And I was like, "Oh my God!"
Have we played that ad yet?
I don't know.
Can we find that? Yeah. Can we find the attack ad that has Steven Crowder? I mean, there may be a lot of them by now, but who knows? Specifically the one with the FBI and Carrie Lake. And look, I know Carrie is doing a fantastic job, but she's also helping people down ballot as well, especially in her state, right? So you've got Blake Masters, who has surged recently in the polls against Democrat Mark Kelly. They're doing a fantastic job with undecided voters, older voters, and women. They've all moved towards Masters in the recent days. And again, it's no wonder when you have somebody like that at the top of the ticket for your state, just kind of electrifying the base a little bit. But look at the groups, undecided voters right now, independent voters. That is the group that Republicans are doing incredibly well. We didn't talk about that when we looked at the polling with what people were thinking right now. Those voters are going overwhelmingly, it seems, right now towards Republicans. So if we can keep that momentum, that's
particularly
fantastic.
with strong candidates. It's a myth that you need to be a meek or a weak, really flat out weak, moderate candidate. It's people like the Carrie Lakes. It's people who are actually willing to stand for their convictions. I mean, and I will say this with Carrie Lake, we spent some time with her there in Phoenix. Like, Carrie Lake, when people say, oh, she was a Democrat, she was incredibly anti-war. And we were dealing with in the wake of George W. Bush.
And she said why.
Yeah, and she still is. And she's answered for it. But she is genuine, having spent time with her. And by the way, a fantastic family and even people surrounding her. She's a blueprint for a lot of people out there as to how you win an election. Yeah. Don't back down. Doesn't mean you have to be bombastic. Doesn't mean that you're undisciplined. She's disciplined, but she's also raw in the best of ways.
Yeah, she's very honest, right? And it's easy to just be honest and go out and speak to the media, but she has good media skills as well.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, I mean, obviously, this is obvious. It's incredibly important to have in this day and age, but Donald Trump had that too. Yep. Donald Trump was so at ease with the media and just kind of pushing their lies. And if he didn't know how to do that, he would just make fun of them, which was also fun.
You know why, though? Think about it. Donald Trump worked in the media and entertainment industry.
Yeah,
so we had experience with it. Same thing with Carrie Lake, right? She was a reporter. A lot of conservatives, because they're rejected by media and the entertainment industry, they don't get that kind of experience.
Yeah.
So these are examples of people who do. And you see when they know how to prepare, when they know the arguments from the left, from people in the media, but I repeat myself, before they're made, they're able to be effective. It is a blueprint on how the Republican Party needs to move forward. It's strong conservatives who stand by their convictions and will speak directly to the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that skill alone is what took him from being kind of a joke candidate to becoming the president.
Yeah. I made fun of him.
That skill itself.
Yeah, not just him. I made fun of his candidacy. I didn't think it was legitimate at first. I was like, I didn't think he was serious. I thought it was just a publicity stunt, and I made fun of that, not him necessarily. But I was like, there's no way. I even told you, I was like, he'll be gone by October. I mean, September. I don't even remember when we were talking about it. I was like, he'll be gone. Not. And you were like, no. He's in it for the long run.
Yeah, but apparently every election has been legitimate except for his.
Just that one?
No, you've got it.
See?
Seems to be the point.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Let me put a finer point on it. Every election that Democrats win is legitimate.
That's legit.
Yes.
Every election that they don't, or every election that they think they might not, will be preemptively called illegitimate.
That's right.
Just to make sure, just to cover all the bases.
We should change the term from put a finer point on it to put a Carrie Lake point on it.
Here.
Even if it's...
Is she fine?
She's fine.
I think her husband is now getting on a plane.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.